Hello and welcome to another video. Today we're going to be going through the 3 things to avoid. We're going into stretching from someone who has pretty much, I would say I was like the worst example of someone who has come into yoga over the years. And to avoid all the things that I did, it's best to keep these things in mind. And we're going to be focusing on the hamstrings. Now, this also applies to stretching in general. And I am one of those people who go all into something, hence this channel. And research shows, the evidence shows, that amongst all the types of stretching, whether it's static, or passive, active, PNF, dynamic, loaded, all the different variations, the one that you should be doing, and in fact it's the nicest one, is your passive static. So we're going to be looking at holding stretches passively in terms of just relaxing into them. Not very exciting. There isn't really a quick way to get into stretching. The secret to stretching is to do the right amount, the right amount of times in a week. So you have to get frequency, so you have to be consistent with the stretching, and research shows that you have to do 1 minute a day, at least 5 days a week. So you're looking for 5 minutes in the week, and you cannot do them in one day. I tried that. So you have to be consistent with your stretching. When I started, I came from an endurance sport background, so I was pretty much tighter than an elastic band. I could barely even touch my knees. And now to this point, I feel like my body is a lot more open. It's definitely less prone to injury, and I feel a lot better. And I will say on the esoteric note, when you stretch yourself, your body feels loose, your mind feels loose. That's enough of the esoteric stuff. I will chew your ear off once you subscribe to this channel. Okay, so to begin with, the first thing to avoid is to warm up properly. Not to get into the double negatives. Now, you want to make sure that your legs are warm. If you go into a stretch and it's cold, you're not going to have a good time. You're going to be more prone to injury, and it's going to just result in like a snap reaction and a tightening. So for hamstrings, I have 2 stretches that you can try, warm-ups at least. Okay. First one is the squatting into fold. Pretty simple. Sometimes I like to use some blocks or something, even a chair, just to support myself as we warm up. So the idea is you're going to drop down into the heels and then use the strength to push and straighten out the back of the legs. Okay. And you'll do this however many times that feels good. I like to do it for at least 2 or 3 minutes just to warm the legs up, and then a slight sort of jostling of the hips, bending into one knee. The other one, which I also really like and I found to be most useful, is your lunge. So you can have your hands on the ground and your knee on the ground if that feels good. I like to have it up. You're going to inhale to look forward, and as you exhale, you're going to press to straighten your front leg, and you're just going to move through that motion of straightening and bending, switching your leg out, straightening and bending. Okay, now you can choose one. I like to do both just to warm my legs up properly. I find I get more out of the stretch once they're more properly warm. So I spend more time on the warm-up than I do on the stretching. Another nice thing I like to do is just to bring some mobility to my hips. Simple rocking from left to right, because you'll find that it's very hard to isolate just one muscle, and you'll get it to the hips. Anyway, so that's the warm-up. Make sure to warm up properly. Otherwise, there's no point in even trying to stretch. The second one is to avoid holding your breath. Now, when you get into your stretch, okay, now I will show you the stretch that I like to do. You can stretch your hamstring in any way that you like. There are thousands on the internet. This is the one that I do daily. I like to have myself on the front of my sitting bones, okay? And as you can see, I'm not all that flexible, but I like to have my legs bent so I can get my belly onto my thighs. I'll take hold of my feet, and then I'll make sure that I have a nice straight spine, and then I'll just slowly drop the one leg down to hold. And then in this way, I'm in the nice position where I'm not rounding too much in the back. I'm bringing my belly forward, okay? Now, sometimes I will take a block and just rest my little pip here on it, or you can get a pillow, and that's just to create some comfort. And then I will take a timer, because if you don't use a timer, it just feels like a lifetime. And you're going to hold this for 60 seconds, okay? And you're going to try and breathe. This is the part where yoga comes into play, which I think is a better way of doing it. With your nervous system, you have to kind of trick it into relaxing. And using slow breaths will allow yourself to relax and deepen into the posture, because there are a variety of different mechanisms in the body, and one of which protects you. So if something happens, your nervous system reacts and it tightens your body up, and we're trying to relax that. And one way of doing that is to use a nice slow exhale and breathe. Pro tip. I like to go sometimes for a little bit longer than a minute because there's a sweet spot that you get after about a minute that you can really start to lean in after you warm yourself up nicely. But just make sure that you're not stretching too hard, because if you come in with this idea of wanting to get there fast, you're going to injure yourself, you're going to put yourself off stretching completely, and you're never going to get flexible. So just bear that in mind, okay? And I suppose the last thing, and it's the most important thing, is to be consistent. And like I said, the research shows that you have to do it at least 4 to 5 times a week. I'm going to link a podcast down below. It's got like all the scientific stuff around it. It's super, super cool. But allow yourself the time to feed it, like put it into your daily habits. Warm yourself up, find a little spot. You can go through a variety of different poses which kind of feel good, especially if you tighter on the hamstrings. Sometimes I also like to, for instance, I'll just hold this pose here and I'll have my hands like on a desk just to sit and use gravity to bend into the stretch. And again, hold for 1 minute and then I change out. 1 minute. Sometimes I do that 2 or 3 times. And then I do it at least 5 times a week. And there you have my experience-based and research-based stretching tips.